take time. I'm on my way, I'm making it. But when will I get there? Because it feels like it's taking forever. Hi there, I'm Lisa Robbin Young, and this is Creative Freedom, your dose of education and inspiration to help you build a noble empire and live an inspired life without selling your soul. I had a conversation recently with a young man that dreams of traveling the world like Indiana Jones, exploring ruins, learning and teaching about ancient archaeological finds outside the classroom in a more intimate, adventure-rich format. And when I asked him what he was doing now to pursue that dream, he said rather sheepishly, well, nothing really. He went on to give me a litany of excuses about how he'd recently lost his job and just got a new one and cash flow wasn't great at the moment. I listened politely until he finished, and I completely understand his current predicament because I've been there. I know how hard it can be to go after your dreams when money is tight. But then I challenged him to get started today anyway. You can't start any younger, I said. And even if all you're doing right now is watching YouTube videos or reading books, it's still going to help you prepare yourself for the next step on your journey. You might get inspired by something that you read or watch, and that helps you create your own brand of magic when the time is right. You can start preparing now so that you'll have all that legwork out of the way when opportunity comes knocking. So many creatives wait until everything is just right, until they've been discovered. And I've written about the myth of the big break and so-called overnight success before. You have to keep showing up relentlessly to own your dreams. Now, I hear you saying, Lisa, I've been at this for years and I'm still not making any real money. I put in way more than my 10,000 hours. What gives? First, breathe, lovely, because I've been there too. While I've been a coach and a trainer for over 10 years, the first few were frustrating. I could have just as easily called myself any number of other things since they were all bringing in about the same amount of money at the time. My first email newsletter went out to 7 people. 7. And I'm still not sure where they even came from or how they found me. But slowly I got traction. People started reaching out to me, asking me questions, writing about me in forums, and talking about who I am and what I offer. And the money started getting better. My confidence in my work soared. I was traveling in some pretty powerful circles of influence, and it felt pretty good most of the time. But something didn't feel right to me, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was until recently. See, as a fusion creative, I have a variety of interests, and picking one to pursue as a career path is like asking me which one of my children gets to live. While I was building my coaching practice, my performing career was virtually non-existent, and I couldn't bear it anymore. So I shifted gears, and in 2013, I started on this journey to record 300 songs. And in the process, my mailing list shrank. My income dwindled. I started freaking out. What I didn't realize then is something that I teach all my clients now, and that's that it takes time to build an audience, and when you shift focus, you have to build again, because some people are going to fall away because they don't like the new direction that you've gone. But whether you've been in a market for weeks or months or years, there are still some very specific things that you have to do in that market to turn the audience into customers. What are those things? I'm so glad you asked. 1, you need to have clarity on your offer. If you're an actor, you've got to have clarity on the roles that are right for you. Saying, hey, I'll take anything, just pay me, might get you a job or two, but it won't build your reputation. Danny DeVito started as a classically trained actor, but couldn't get roles in much of anything for years. Then he honed in on what made him special. His trademark, sardonic, curmudgeonly characters, they formed the foundation of the bulk of the rest of his career. So while he was capable of great character diversity because he had been classically trained, he made grumpy men his signature style. Audiences ate him up as Louis De Palma in Taxi, while younger audiences might remember him as the grumpy satyr in Disney's Hercules. Danny DeVito has built a career that spans decades doing what he loves, and he did it because he got clear on what he really offered. He wasn't just an actor. He was a grumpy curmudgeon. And he's even won industry awards for his work. But before he stepped into that zone of genius and owned it, he was an out-of-work actor for 5 years. 2, you need to have audience clarity. If you're a musician, you can sing anything you like, but you need a specific audience who will show up, listen to what you're creating, and buy your music. That's why, love them or hate them, we have musical genres. Blues, pop, rap, country, soul. There's a category that will fit your style, and if not, you can create one. That's what I did. But you can't be all the categories. Why? Because a confused mind says no, and if your audience can't figure you out in fairly short order, they're gonna stop trying. That doesn't mean you have to be mainstream to be successful. Not at all. Peter Gabriel started as the lead singer for Genesis long before Phil Collins took over. He built a reputation for outlandish characters in costumes and held audiences with complex storytelling between songs when the band played. Genesis developed a following because of that. But there was a problem. Gabriel only did all of that out of necessity. The band needed to tune or deal with technical glitches, so Gabriel developed this shtick to fill time. And the audience loved it. But it wasn't him. Eventually things came to a head with Genesis, and Peter and the band parted ways amicably, and this gave Gabriel a chance to be his own man and articulate what really mattered to him as an artist, which wasn't conjuring costumes and telling these elaborate, fantastical stories, but rather the very real stories of human rights and world music. And when he tapped into those stories, his right audience came alive. He built a following that came to see not his fantastic costumes, but be moved by the power of his lyrics and the imagery that those conveyed. And with his biggest selling multi-platinum album, So, he created a fusion of multiple musical genres that was so popular, Gabriel's album won 10 Video Music Awards, spawned a #1 single, and is ranked as one of the top 200 greatest albums of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. How's that for creating your own genre? 3, you've got to have the right support systems in place. If you're an artist, you can paint what you love all day long, but there's only so many hours in a day. You can only create so much so fast. In the days of Da Vinci, there were apprentices who helped the masters finish their pieces. They leveraged time because it helped the master get more done, and it helped the apprentice learn his signature style. Now, apprenticing isn't as big as it once was, but creatives still need to have the right systems and supports in place at the right time to make a good living doing what they love. Dale Chihuly, a pioneer in fine art glass, uses a team approach to glass blowing, which he learned in Venice about the same time Danny DeVito was trying his hand at acting. Dale simply couldn't create his masterpieces without a team because it takes multiple people to make the glass. Thomas Kinkade, on the other hand, took a different tack. One of the most commercially successful painters of the late 20th century, Kinkade made a choice to industrialize and mass market his art, selling prints of his work on QVC, branding himself as the painter of light, and he licensed his images for calendars, puzzles, decorative plates, even Walmart gift cards. It was a move that many art critics and artists alike railed against, but it worked for Kinkade because he found a market of hungry collectors that would gladly buy what he was creating. There are pros and cons to each approach, and maybe even a middle ground, but you as the creator need to decide what's going to work best for you. Your business doesn't have to look or feel like any other, but it does have to have the right amount of systems and supports to be financially stable. Otherwise, it's not a business, just another expensive hobby in the world. It takes time to get these 3 elements together. How much time depends on you. On average, I've seen it take about 3 years for most creatives to get out of struggle and into profitable, sustainable cash flow. The money starts coming in during the first year, but it's hit or miss, and that's because you're still working out the offer and growing your audience. But then, once you start to gain traction, things pick up steam, sometimes lightning fast. Traction in the marketplace is what gives your income more stability, predictability, and it allows you to bring in more of the right systems at the right times to help support you as you grow. When you've got all three in place, you might just find yourself singing along with Peter Gabriel. So now let me hear from you. What stage of business development are you in? Still struggling to find your resonant offer? Growing your audience? Are you already at a profitable, sustainable place in your noble empire? Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments, and let's be a rising tide for everyone. If you liked this episode and want to be the first to get more just like it, then subscribe and share me around with your friends, because creative freedom tastes so good, cats ask for it by name. And there's always more where this came from. For inspiring songs, stories, and resources to help you build a noble empire and live an inspired life without selling your soul, come see what's shaking over at LisaRobbinYoung.com. You know you want to.